Warning: only an experienced mechanic should work on the brake system.
To replace the front brakes on a second generation Volvo XC60, you will need the following things: a 19mm lug nut socket, a standard wheel wrench, eventually just a breaker bar, a regular wrench, an unusual 11mm hex bit for the brake caliper sliding pins, a usual 18mm socket, and eventually a 7mm socket too, small Torx T30 bit, wire brush, small ratchet, a flathead screwdriver, preferably a bigger one than these, brake caliper piston spreading tool, brake cleaner, grease for the brake pad sliding surface, and if your car is equipped with these plastic lug nut covers, then you will also need this lug nut cover removal tool. These are the basic things you will definitely need, but if you want to do the things properly, then you will also need a bigger torque wrench rated to 200 Nm, a smaller torque wrench for the brake caliper sliding pins, and last but not least, a wheel hub cleaning tool. Now, if your car is equipped with the standard suspension, then you can already lift the car. However, if your car is equipped with air suspension, like in this case, then you should put the suspension into the jacking mode, or in other words, disable the leveling control before jacking up the car. By the way, to replace the front brakes, I would recommend to lift the whole front part of the car, so having two jack stands is a very good idea. Unless you have the luxury of a regular lift, of course. After removing the wheel, it's time to remove this brake caliper spring clip. There are two ways to remove it. If it's not stuck, then you can remove it only by hand. Just compress the inner section of the spring clip and wiggle it out. But you can also use vice grips or mid-sized pliers and slowly remove the spring clip. In both cases, be a bit careful, since the spring clip can sometimes spring out to the wilderness. After this, you can remove the plastic covers of the brake caliper sliding pins with a flathead screwdriver, and remove the brake caliper sliding pins. To remove them, use the unusual 11mm hex bit. After this, insert a flathead screwdriver or some other thin metallic bar into the brake rotor groove or between the brake pad and brake rotor. Then just pry the caliper outwards to release the tension. Next, remove the brake caliper and put it to the side. You can put it onto something or hang it, but make sure it's not hanging by the brake hose. By the way, if the brake hose is too short, then you should also remove the small 7mm bolt of the brake hose bracket to free up the hose. But in this case, it was not necessary. Now it's time to remove the Torx bolt of the brake rotor. To avoid rotor movement, just put a flathead screwdriver into the rotor groove close to the brake caliper bracket. After this, turn the wheels to the side to gain more space around the brakes. Now it's time to remove the brake caliper bracket, which is held in place by two 18mm bolts. Removing them will take a while, since they come with a decent amount of thread locker from the factory. Lastly, remove the brake rotor. Sometimes it can be removed easily, like in this case, but sometimes you will have to use some force. After removing the brake rotor, you can see a decent amount of rust on the wheel hub. This will not only cause the brake rotor to be stuck, but it can also cause vibrations during driving or during braking. And there is of course rust on the central section of the brake rotor too. Now it's time to clean the wheel hub, the brake caliper bracket, and since I am reusing the brake rotor, I will clean that as well. To clean the wheel hub, the best is to use this kind of a tool. However, a simple wire brush or a sandpaper will kind of work as well. On the brake caliper bracket you have to clean mainly these areas. For this you can use a wire brush, eventually sandpaper. After cleaning, it's time to push the brake caliper piston inside. But before you start to push the piston inside, first open the hood and open the brake fluid reservoir. Remove the cap and watch the brake fluid level while pushing the brake caliper piston in, since it can overflow. Before putting back the brake rotor, you should clean it properly with brake cleaner. Additionally, it's good to put a thin coat of this kind of a brake grease onto the wheel hub to prevent future corrosion. Next, it's time to put some grease onto these parts of the brake caliper bracket according to the service manual. Now you can put back the brake rotor. The torque spec for the brake rotor Torx bolt is 10 Nm, but that's not that important. Perhaps more important is that the brake caliper bracket bolts should be replaced every time they are removed according to the service manual. This is the part number for the bolts. But if you are buying new genuine brake rotors directly from Volvo, then they should come with new bolts automatically. The torque spec for the brake caliper bracket bolts is 200 Nm. Before you put back the brake caliper, inspect the surface of the brake rotor, because it is possible that some grease gets onto it from the bracket. So if you find some, then simply clean it with brake cleaner. After this, you can fit the brake pads. The inner brake pad has to be pushed into the brake caliper piston. It's not gonna slide in there very easily, so you can put some grease onto these clips on the back side of the brake pad. But make sure that no grease gets onto the brake pad surface, of course. On the other side, the outer brake pad can be easily fitted right into the brake caliper bracket, so this is completely straightforward. Putting back the brake caliper is straightforward, as well as putting back the sliding pins. But before putting back the sliding pins, clean them properly with brake cleaner. The torque spec for the sliding pins is 57 Nm. However, some sources state it's 60 Nm. Either way, the 3 Nm difference is in this case nothing to worry about, so the choice is yours. Put back the plastic covers of the sliding pins and we are almost done. The last step is to put back the brake caliper spring clip. Make sure the spring clip is secured properly, put back the wheel, and that's it.